So here are the oh, wait, let's take questions.
I was going to go back to the book. My name is Edward.
Hi, Edward.
A.K.A. Scooter.
Hey, Scooter.
And how long did it take you to write your book?
A long time,
Yeah,
Mr. Scooter. So it took a long time, but that's because I was just like really distracted and like trying to run a business, trying to write a book, moving all over the country, freaking out I'm going to be broke. Should I go get a job? Let me apply for this job. Like I was just so distracted. The more you can choose one thing that you really want to do in your life and go after that very hard and very focused, the better off you will be. I started out and I really struggled because I was like trying to start this business, trying to make money, worried about trying to keep up with my friends who had fancy jobs and wasting all my money hanging out with them. And it wasn't until like I hit rock bottom and was like, oh, I can't pay my rent, that I realized like, wait, what is all this for? Like I'm supposed to be writing a book. So I was like, you have 7 weeks to write this book. And so actually most of the book was written in 7 weeks. It's taken 2 years to get the book out the door, but the vast majority of the content was written in 7 weeks.
How many pages is it?
It's over 250. We're trying to get it down.
What did you do? Were you your self-editor too? I mean, you said you're
No, I am not a self-editor, and I do not believe in self-editing. So I hired Millie. She was the Filipina over there in the corner. She's our senior essay editor. She also edits the book. She's a former newspaper journalist who was like, no, thank you. Or not, no, the newspaper industry was like, you're out of a job.
Right.
And so she edits the book.
And then, okay, so you're ready to publish it. What did you do then? You said you're self-publishing.
I'm self-publishing. So what that means is I use a print-on-demand publisher, POD, and it's super easy. I upload a PDF of the cover, and then I upload a PDF of the inside, and then I tell them what size I want it to be. When you get the book, you'll see it feels real like creamy. That's called a matte cover. I say I want a matte cover that's 8.5 by 5.5, and they just print one at a time. So you know how you may know someone who self-published a book who has like 1,000 copies in their basement, and they're like, oh, yeah, somebody made a note, Aisha? Yeah, so, and that sucks, you know? No, what I do is I order 1 book at a time, 10 books at a time. This is the preview version, right? But when my book comes out for sale, and I show up here and I want to sell all y'all books, I can just order 15 and they'll send me 15. I'm using a company called Lightning Source. They are the same people who print Amazon's books. So like these are real books. The difference is I have to do all the work and I have to foot all the bills. If I published with a real publisher, I wouldn't be paying to print my own book. But I still would be schlepping around. I would still be doing most of what I'm doing. Even if you get a real publisher, you have to pay your own publicist. You have to pay your own flights. Like you still have to pay for almost everything. Except now this company owns the publishing rights to your book, and you have to literally buy your own copies of your book, which is crazy to me. So,
I've got a question for you. When I first started my company a long time ago, I too went a little bit nuts, and I think it's what most entrepreneurs go through. And I equate it to plate spinning. Remember on television,
yes,
those old plate spinners?
They just keep throwing more. You're like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And like one plate would be actually doing the content, like the writing.
Yeah.
Another plate would be the operations of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Another plate would be the marketing of it. Another plate would be the finances of it. And how would you say that you end up dividing your time?
That's a great question. So now I would say every Monday is like dedicated completely to just like administrative stuff. So like paying my student loans, paying my rent, making sure anyone I owe money, I pay them. So Monday is literally like pay bills day every Monday. Now that Alexa's my assistant, because I used to have a different assistant who wasn't here, that's going to help a lot because like Alexa will do some of those things or would like write checks or things like that take up some of my time, which is great because that's not something I need to be sitting there doing a whole day writing checks out to people. But that literally right now, that's how my whole Monday is spent. Tuesdays, the entire Tuesday is spent just talking to my team one-on-one. There's 10 of them. So I spend the entire day being like, hey, Alexa, how are you? What's going on in your part of the business? What projects are you working on? Hey, Raheem, what are you having trouble with? That's the whole day. It's just managing the people who work for me. Every Wednesday, the entire day is, once again, the entire day is spent talking to clients, answering their questions and like coaching them. So whether it's a client who's like, hey, I just paid you to help me get a job, like let's do this, or another person who's like, please get me into Harvard, I paid you, let's do this, or a person who's like, You know, I don't really charge for this now, but very soon I will be. Like, I want to start a business like yours. What do I need to do? That might be a different client. Every Thursday is we're back again to the clients again, because that's just the whole time. And then Fridays I might have like some time to actually do work, like to actually like do the other stuff. So now my job has turned from working in my business to like managing the people who work in my business. And that's a transition a lot of entrepreneurs have trouble with, because what you really enjoyed doing was like the actual social media stuff, and then you're like all of a sudden wake up and like, oh, that's not my job anymore. My job is now to manage all these other people. However, I knew to look out for that because I had been to business school, and I knew that that's what happens, and I actually like that a lot more. So I actually like that my job is to manage those 10 people versus like writing tweets all day, just because, yeah, I really love it. It allows me, you know, remember I like to be a teacher, I like to be a coach, so now I get to teach and coach my 10 people. Yeah, so my job is completely different than what it used to be 2 years ago. Yeah. So, any more questions? Okay, you're Brandon.
Right. Okay, I heard you say, going crazy, you say, what motivates you, like when you feel like, okay, I'm wasting my time, it's not gonna work, what is it that makes you keep going?
The fact that I do not want to get up every day, put on clothes I don't want to wear, get in my car that has no air conditioning, drive across town and sit up in somebody's job where I'm like, why am I working this hard to make somebody else rich? So that's what motivates me. So for example, business got very slow this last February, and I was like, oh, we're about to go to business. So I started working at Reagan High School. I worked there for 5 weeks, and I was a high-density tutor. So I was kind of like a teacher, but I worked with only like 3 students at a time. Now remember, I love teaching, so I actually loved that. But the pay was very low, and the work was exhausting. The young people were awesome, but it was just like, you know, like, oh, my boss, and like, you know, having to like write the minute I came in and the minute that I leave, and if I come a minute late or if I leave a minute early, they dock that. And I was just like, like, this has to work. Like, I have to make working for myself work, because I just can't. You know, it's not to say that working for someone else is bad. Like, obviously, my team of 10 people, they all want to start their own businesses one day, and they're learning a lot working for me. So I'm not trying to say that working for someone else is a bad thing always. But, like, some people just have that, like, rebel spirit where it's like, I'm never going to work for anyone. And I think that's kind of what I have. So that's what motivates me, is I'm like, you think this is bad? Imagine doing this for something that's not even yours. So that's what keeps me going. Red dress. What's your name? You look. That's you. No, Scooter in his red dress.
That's tomorrow.
I'm Yanelis Thompson.
Danielis. Yanelis. Hi.
I don't have questions. Really bored.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looked like you had made a little signal. Like,
yeah, I did.
You did, but you don't have a question.
Well, I can ask a question. Maybe answer one more question.
That's okay. You had made it. Yeah.
Do you always want to have your own business? You know, like sometimes you say, I want to have my own business. That's all you have in your mind. But
Yeah, I think I did. Because when I was little, I was one of those kids who was always starting businesses. So like, I'm going to start a newspaper in elementary school, or I'm going to sell friendship bracelets, or I'm going to, let's see what other things I did. Like, I just was always, you know, the lemonade stand. My, this guy that was basically my brother that I grew up with, him and his friends, they started a lemonade stand, and we like set one up, me and his sister right next to them, like, well, we sell Kool-Aid or whatever. So like, I've always been very like businessy.
My name is Oscar, and my question is the personal branding that you provide strictly for women, or do you have a separate target market for each area of your business?
That's a great question. So that's what we're really struggling with right now, because as you see, the colors on my website are like Care Bear, and it's like very girly, but that's because that's me. And you know what? 90% of my clients are men. 90% of my clients are men. They somehow look past the Care Bear, and they're like, I still want to work with her.
Oscar was looking for a book, Be Your Own Girlfriend.
Yeah, I've been. Oscar, you need some help in that area?
I'm scared to give that book to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Let me speak on that. When she gave me a copy of the book, Be Your Own Boyfriend, it's actually not one of those one-sided sexist things. I actually learned a lot from it. It's not just for women, and that's what I told her. I was like, be your own boyfriend? Well, yeah, I'll be my boyfriend. It's really not that one-sided sexist thing. It's, you know, it's enjoyable for men as well.
Yeah, and I also interview men for the book to make sure, you know, that it resonates with people. It's not that I expect men to buy, or at least not straight men, to buy the book, but yeah, but I do. The advice that I give when guys hear it or read it, they're like, yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah. So yeah, all my services, all my everything is for both men and women. I'm just super girly, and that's my branding. And whatever reason, the guys look right past it, and I laugh all the way to the bank. So like, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't deter them, or it might deter some people, but it doesn't deter everybody.
It's kind of like not related to what we were just talking about, but I noticed that two of your strengths are being a strategist as well as an activator. I was wondering if you had any advice for someone who's trying to be the same.
Yes, where was that?
That was on, I want to say, I forget which website it was, but
I literally don't even know where I put that, but yeah.
It was on your consulting website.
On my consulting, yeah. So I'm a strategist and an activator, and then what was the question?
What advice do you have for someone who's trying to be the same?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say someone who's trying to be the same, because those, yeah, do you already feel that you already are that? Okay, so what I would recommend actually is that you take the StrengthsFinder test. It's called StrengthsFinder 2.0, and the man who created it is super smart. So you can only take the test if you buy his book, and you can only do it if you buy the book new. So that's genius. And what it'll do is you take this test, and it will tell you what your strengths are. And then I recommend that you play to those strengths, because we all have different strengths. And that's why I've been so successful, is I don't try to be who I'm not. I don't try and be like stodgy or whatever, or corporate, because that's not me. I'm very colorful and silly and like girly, and that's what I play to that. And the people who like that, then they're like, this is great. People who don't like that go running for the hills, and that's completely okay. So if y'all want like a free version of that, I recommend you just Google Myers-Briggs test, MYERS, and then last is BRIGGS. And it's this personality test that a husband and wife came up with that categorizes all people into one of 16 types. And once you take that test and see what your type is, you will be astounded at how they have read your soul and be like, that's me. In fact, on our first date, I made Josh take the test in the middle of dinner to make sure we were a good match. Because I'm neurotic in that way, but I was also just like, you can learn so much about yourself and about other people if you know what their type is. For example, these are two very different people, but they're the same exact personality type. They're both INFJs, introverted, intuitive, feeling judgers. And that, she always feels shy when I say the judgers part. But yeah, and that tells me like exactly how they think. That tells me like what's gonna make them angry. That tells me what makes them feel valued. Like, it's really amazing. I'm an ENF. I'm a classic textbook ENFP, which is like, we're called the inspirers, the journalists, or the advocates. INFJs are called the protectors. So take this test. You will love it. It's free on the internet. Yeah, and once you take that test, it will list your strengths, and that's where you want to play in that game, is whatever you're most strong in. Okay, so how are we on time? What's happening with time?
We have about 12 minutes.
Okay, we got 12. So what I'm going to do is I'll email the slides to Dr. Davis, and what this will do is run you through all the tools that I use to run my business. Let's get to the recommended. Yeah, these are all the tools we use to run the business, all the tools, yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many more slides, so let's keep going through that. Okay, back this one, yeah.